what is it that we need to know about consequences? Because most people try to avoid them. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to actually know the consequences of our actions. What does the average person need to understand about consequences?
Consequences allow growth. And people don't believe that. But for everything that I've had to experience, I have learned from that. It became teachable, which made me better. Yeah. Because it was a consequence to my action. And so because that's what that was, now I just do it differently because there's really no failure. And so people think of consequences as a failure. There is no failure. You just now do it differently. And so for every consequence that I have experienced in my life, because I am 51, although I don't look past 28.
No, you don't.
You know, I just don't look past 28.
Fooled me.
I'm 51.
Fooled me.
I'm 50. But for everything that I've experienced, I have a positive for it. Right. I can take a positive out of any negative situation because there's really no failure. It's only growth. And so when we understand that the things that we experience push us to who we are supposed to become, then we'll continue to be handling that same behavior. And that's the biggest thing.
Okay, so you reframe failure for learning.
Yes.
This is what I hear you say. Mm-hmm. I love that.
Because there's no failure.
Because there's no failure. Because it's probably only a failure if you don't learn from it and you keep making the same mistake over and over again.
Yes.
Which is really not a failure at the end of the day. It's just insanity.
It's your behavior.
It's your behavior.
And it becomes a choice.
Yeah, well, like the working definition of insanity that people use is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Like, that's a fun thing. So it's like, let's just not do the same thing over and over again and not learn from it.
Yes.
Especially if it's negative.
Yes.
And so when it comes to consequences, what I also see you picking up for us to understand is consequences are not innately negative. Mm-hmm. Consequences are just the thing that come because of a specific action.
Absolutely.
And so you can have consequences that are positive.
Yes, because we have positive and negative consequences.
And so how do I pursue stringing together more positive consequences?
So the first thing would be, and I say this all the time, if everything around you, if you just do, I said, just humor me. So for one day, call people. And if everything that they say is negative, the friendship is over. But are you willing to step out by yourself, right? Because I need positive things around me. And we have to be able to find out what is it that I need. And we don't really look at that. I'm always looking at what is it that I need emotionally, mentally, financially, spiritually, sacrificially, and physically. And so for me, emotionally is I have to have peace. So Trevor, if I'm in a bad place today, in a moment, and I call you and say, oh my God, Trevor, I'm just not doing well. Like I had a rough time with one of my people today. If I call you and you cannot in a moment just be like, oh, okay, yeah, I understand, Heather. So, it was just a moment. Like, it's good. Everything is going to be. If you can't do that, you're not a good friend for me, right? Because I don't need you to trigger me to bring me down a negative cycle, right? Yeah. I need you to be able to call. If you call me and you saying, oh, my goodness, today, I'm going to listen for a minute. I'm going to be like, okay, so how about we look at this? How about we do this? Or come on, let's think about this. Or what could you have done differently? Because I need to bring you out of that. And so if this is for everyone that is listening, if everyone around you is negative, I want you to consider, is that healthy for you? I just want you to consider it. And then I want you to at least find one person that is just positive, just one. If you can't find that, I want you to consider that maybe everyone around you is not good for you now. That don't mean that they're not good. They're just not good for you now. That's a difference.
I imagine that there's different people that you call that you would consider close friends.
Yes.
And I bet it's because you have different types of friends.
Absolutely.
Not all of them are at the same level or at the same core of the people that are right around you.
Yes.
And so I think that's a really valuable way to think about that is who's right next to you versus who is more of an acquaintance.
Yes.
Or a friend that's casual.
Yes.
What we're not talking about is someone that's casual. We're talking about wise counsel.
Yes.
Who do you call to consult with?
Yes.
And I think I love you helping us think through that, because if we can stack up people that actually have probably more positive consequences in their life as well, then we are more likely to have those as well.
Yes.
Because you become who you surround yourself with.
Absolutely.
And I am a firm believer in exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
And I love how you communicate, because how you communicate is what your shirt says. It is therapy. It is therapeutic.
Yes.
It is refreshing. It is movement. There's so much energy in you. And I love that because you are seeing people's lives change and you are passionate about that thing.
Yes.